Hello and welcome to Day 11 Better Call Saul, bringing together real-life conversations and reactions from around the web on Season 4, Episode 8, Kushada. Ciao Kako to Breaking Goodman, post-show recaps, Better Cast Saul, and Krautwatch and Steve Varley on YouTube. In this episode, Kim's plan has Jimmy setting off on a Greyhound bus, while she sets the groundwork at the Bernalillo County Court.
DA is insisting 18-month jail time for Huel. She's not giving an inch.
He's a pickpocket who assaulted the same police officer who previously booked him. The assault, though, Rob, is so dumb. Like, the only salt there is the sodium level of those sandwiches. This is pretty weak stuff. Yeah, cold cuts. Yeah, not good for you. Nitrates. Huel is in trouble because of his previous incidents. Even when the ADA runs back into the room after she's faced off with Kim and the judge, she basically says, I want to find out why people are so excited, or people really want to help a pickpocket. All she sees Huel as a pickpocket.
Now, when Kim ends up bringing those 3 other associates for, shock and awe to really back off the prosecution, were those people from Schweiker Associates?
Striding into the court hallway, 3 associates with her. Mm-hmm. They're all carrying briefcases. Oh, we're here. I was like, oh, come on in. What's opens the door. They all stomp in. They all sit down, looking like a gang. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great.
Kim was there, kind of making it look as if she was there alone. Are you ready for me? I know it's a little early. Yeah, come right in.
Surprise!
Suzanne, the Huel prosecutor, says, all right, we'll deal with all this, and then we'll set a trial date. But now she asked Kim to talk to her in private, and she asked her what she's doing, throwing these $400 an hour associates at a pro bono case. And Kim says, what makes you think this is pro bono?
Oh, you may not understand why we have this power behind our legal team, but you don't have to understand, because that's what she's teeing her up to think.
I think that she's very nervous over what she's doing.
She's not sure it's going to work yet. That's why she's so turned on when it does work.
People working on the Huel case?
Yeah, the DA is like, why are you bringing in like these billable associates in here? Like, these are people that you use to make money. Kim sort of says, I never said I was doing this for free.
Speaking in private, Erickson states that she is unimpressed with Kim's shock and awe tactics and says Huel is still going to prison. You're obviously spending a ton of money on this. This is obviously not a pro bono case. She's like, I never said it was a pro bono case.
She walks up with a smile. She looks confident. But then as she gets closer to the camera, her smile drops, and you hear her take in like kind of a ragged breath. And I was like, is she disappointed that the ADA didn't cave right then?
Yeah, maybe.
Because that's the point where now everything she's done up to that point is legal. And now she's going to have to cross the line to the illegal.
Yeah.
And remember back with the squat cobbler, like, falsifying evidence is like, she doesn't want to hear about it from Jimmy. Like, she's not about that.
The Baltic effect.
We should have known Kushada was connected to Huel Babineau, right? With the Cajun Creole name and the Louisiana town.
I was thinking that was where they were going to take the German workers, and maybe they should have taken the German workers there.
West Coast Project.
I did a Greyhound bus trip, 16 to 18 hours, and I had thought one bus ride and you go straight through with a couple stops here or there, but it was like a bus ride and then you stop at Pittsburgh. These layovers could be at like 3 in the morning, wandering around these Greyhound bus terminals, dead of night. Cleveland, there was Pittsburgh, and then there was one other. I will pay $1,000 for a plane ticket before I would pay $100 to ride on a Greyhound bus. Seeing those chairs with the little squirrels, it just gave me chills.
Breaking Goodman.
What's going on? So he's faking postcards and makes it look like they all come from different people.
Crowd watch.
And the owner is suspicious that his wife is mad at him and pours him liquor.
Steve Varley.
Tell her you're sorry, and then when you're done with that, tell her you're sorry again. And as a dude, when I hear that, I'm like, wait a minute, why? That doesn't even apply. There was no apology even. It just doesn't matter. Tell her you're sorry.
West Coast Project.
She's not my wife.
Yeah.
So it's not, she's not mad at me. She's not my wife.
Which was like the second, my wife.
Yeah.
kind of moment.
But yeah, she's mad at me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she goes, gets him some vodka, tells him how to get out of the doghouse, take her to a fancy restaurant, one with a real waiter and cloth napkins, and then say sorry. And no matter what she says to you, you say that you're sorry.
And then you say sorry again.
Yeah. And then he says, we might be past that. So she says, I'll leave the bottle.
Breaking Goodman.
She's telling him, don't be a jerk, is what she's telling him. And she's telling him when you are a jerk, then kind of take your medicine.
I get it. It's like, I'm not right, and you have a point, you're right. Saying you're sorry kind of illustrates that.
Well, it doesn't matter what you've done. If you want the relationship and she's that mad at you and you've screwed it up, try to fix it.
Can you tell I'm single, Michelle?
I think they said the word wife tonight, and I think that was for a reason. And I think she's going to become, this is just a guess, but I think she's going to become his wife. But I think Kim's going to break bad.
I think that was just Mrs. Gwynn being like a traditional Chinese family. Where's your wife?
I know.
Every man above 25 has a wife.
West Coast Project.
My dad? Oh, left behind a cold water flat and a stack of bills. That's about all. Not true. He also left behind you, Michael.
Mike doesn't have many close people in his life. However, he's very protective of the few people he cares about, and the show writers want us to see that Werner is one of those people.
Better casts all instant.
Mike is with the Germans, and he's taking them out to a little R&R, and they go to a strip joint, and like, what could go wrong there? I mean, like, nothing ever goes wrong at a strip joint. Him and Mike start talking.
They had a buyout. They rented the place, strip club.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's happening there?
Where women take their clothes off for money.
Yes, thank you. What goes on in that place? And I learned some things watching Better Call Saul.
Oh, you can't touch him.
I would have assumed.
Breaking Goodman.
The guy he was talking to had a sort of squeaky, high-pitched voice.
Soulcast instant take.
Mike sees this and has a conversation with Werner the next day, I believe, right? Werner's a little disheveled, kind of dropping his stuff. What you're getting paid, the man you're working for, the work that you're doing, all of the precautions, think about this, think about that, and think about what you did and how it can never happen again.
Yeah. Breaking Goodman.
He just wants to be social. I mean, the guy is just dying for some sort of interaction between other humans in some way, shape, or form. But, well, you dude, you are now obsessed with Kai.
Talks all.
We thought that maybe they were talking about girls. We were right. It was about girls. It's funny how Kai has been on screen for maybe 3 minutes, but that was enough for us to see that when he gets kicked out of a strip club for touching when he's not supposed to be touching, you just go, that's Kai for you. Yeah.
Soulcast instant take.
All right, so Mike supervises the Germans at the strip club. Kai's having a great time, but Werner is not. So Mike takes him to a nearby bar where Werner tells him that his father built the Sydney Opera House. That doesn't seem right.
I think this guy sees the drug, the super lab as his life's work, his distinctive endeavor, and it's like setting in that he's never going to be able to tell anybody about it and brag about it.
I bet you a German in Albuquerque stands out a lot more than if you took them to, like, I don't know, Las Vegas or I don't know what else.
The Baltic effect.
Totally felt for Werner at the strip club. That would have been me. Just like, okay, you guys have fun at the strip club. Like when Mike takes him to the real bar, oh, so much better. That's what I would have loved.
You know
that.
what,
Just take me to a regular bar.
She like tapped me on the shoulder and like took my face and she's like, what is wrong with you? I have been scolded by an exotic dancer for not paying attention.
Yeah, she's not there for you to not stare at her. She's there to make some fucking cash.
He was telling him about his father and how his father, poured the concrete at the Sydney Opera House, 10 years of his life. You can see that he's getting in his cups a little bit, starting to overshare. He talks to somebody else at the bar, buys him a beer, and Mike is just kind of eyeing him. And this is all bad. We know how Gus is, okay?
You're not throwing me out. I paid my money.
Is it Kai again?
No, you don't need to call the cops. Who the hell are you? I'm the guy who's telling you this one's had too much. I'm here to get him out of your head.
Oh my God, Kai. Had I known you're a Dortmund fan.
Crouch watch.
Kai puts his hands on a stripper, gets thrown out of the club. Mike goes out, pays off the bouncer, pays off the girl, asks if the girl's okay.
Nerdrotic.
Just speaking up about how to pronounce the beer, it's like, why the hell would you draw any attention to yourself?
And he was literally talking to the guy about this project. I could have been talking about any building. It's not a big deal, Mike.
When I saw that drawing on the coaster, I couldn't really believe my eyes. It was like, Did he seriously just draw the lab?
Soulcast Instant
Pretty nice thing you got going here. Shame if something happened to it.
Well, surely that guy doesn't won't remember me.
The German engineer. Yeah, so Mike's just warning him, and then he goes through and he's updating Gus.
Breaking Goodman.
Picking up the guys for work. This is where he has that conversation with Ziegler, what he told those guys. Mike has picked up the coaster and even showed him what he has written. And I couldn't believe he was showing them. I couldn't believe that Ziegler was showing these guys this stuff.
Finds a very serious problem and only employs a half measure to resolve it.
West Coast Project.
Just to add a subway stop. No.
Now he even gives away that he's a constructor.
Mike, come sit with us.
Your wife's calling?
My wife.
Yeah.
Drawing diagrams and like discussing like how do you do this big excavation with so much concrete, and he's basically like laying out their entire plan that's supposed to be like undercover, and ultimately Mike has to come read in the riot act.
When we see him back there at the table, and I don't know what the relationship is with the two guys, maybe no one in this equation is gay. I just got the vibe that Werner was trying to sort of leverage this situation by like, oh yeah, let me talk about what I do best. I'm going to talk about some fancy, design skills. Let me tell you some architecture.
After Buzz
basically sends him on his way. This guy's going to be trouble, but it's at this point they should probably change out the team. And maybe they should have thought of that. Maybe they should have gotten multiple teams to come in, although that is too many people.
Neurotic.
Kai can't go because Kai's a really good blaster. This is my number one demolitions guy. There's still this big rock in the elevator shaft, and that's got to go. Mike is even telling Gus that this week. We got a rock. We got to get rid of it. That means more blasting. So we know that there's going to be some blasting work done. Is there going to be an accident that happens with the blasting? Once that happens, is Kai then expendable? What happens from that point on? I don't know. But Werner's the one I'm worried about. And if Gus says to Mike, like, you know what? I leave it to you. You decide. And Mike feels that he has to take Werner out. That might be the kind of thing that puts Mike in a position where we find him in Breaking Bad, where he's more of a cold-blooded killer. You know what, Walter? You can't just kill 11 people as a prophylactic measure when Walt wants to get a bunch of guys off of Mike's books.
Post-show recast.
Something's always going to get back to Mike, and something's always going to get back to Gus.
After Buzz.
Lydia. At some point, he states that she deserves to die just as much as any man he knows. I'm not sure why Lydia would have Werner and his crew killed, but we saw in Breaking Bad that she has no problem taking out a crew of people when she thinks they're at risk.
And he looks absolutely miserable. We see him go into the room. He takes his shirt off. We see his bullet, wound is healed a little bit. He goes into his safe and he pulls out a couple of fake IDs for himself and his pop. So it looks like he still has his exit strategy in mind.
Neurotic.
Biding time for Gus, right?
Yes.
He's running this operation, keeping things looking, all above board here as far as drug operations go.
Right.
While Gus builds the super lab, while Gus prepares his empire for the takeover of the Salamancas.
Better cast
leveled up in the last 8 or 10 months.
He has. And he's got a bunch of in-game currency, and he's buying new things for his character, new skins, drugs for his tricks that he's got living in his house.
Babes that hang out at his house.
Yeah, some meth tricks that just live there for drugs. Not a bad deal. He's got art hanging on the walls. He's got a really nice car, and apparently he's got a couple of fake Canadian IDs. Fake Canadian IDs. Rob, what about that?
Yeah, I couldn't tell what those were supposed to be. I thought, what is that, like his medical insurance card for the veterinarian? I'm not sure what.
Asking whether Ziegler ever thought about having kids. Ziegler looks down at his hands. Once, maybe. My Margareta, she's enough for me.
Epic old school
He's reluctantly doing all these things, and I know it's partially Gus, but
but also he's not cool. He's cold.
Better casts all instant talk.
Well, you did what you had to do.
He's not going to learn if you don't.
Otherwise. Yeah, so why didn't you do it?
Breaking Goodman.
You're short and wear gold chains around your neck.
Crowd watch.
Maybe he's got a little sympathy for the guy, because we'll talk about Nacho's pad. Goes home to where his two women and his massive pad are waiting for him. They sit at attention when he gets home.
They established that he walks in front of this big picture window.
I'm still wondering when Crazy is going to become an informant. Like, when's he going to go start hanging out with Hank? Yeah. I was... Well, because you would text me that
because you watched it before me, that I was going to like the end, and I was like, oh my god, is this going to be like Hank at the end? Because it's Crazy 8.
At least I thought, okay, he's still there. He still has hope, whether or not we have hope for him.
Josh has been kind of in charge.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, he's got like the nice house now and the nice car.
Yeah, that threw me off at first.
When he goes home, it totally reminded me of Jesse.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like when Jesse just goes home and like he has girls at his house just to have someone there, and like he gives him like drugs or whatever, and then goes to his
He just
room.
leaves him.
Yeah. Like,
No,
hey,
yeah.
you want us to make you dinner? And he just like throws him to crack or whatever it is and goes to his room.
He goes in there and looks at those ID cards for his dad, and it was just like...
So do you think him and his dad are planning on... Because they say they're Canadian on there.
Yeah.
Do you think they're planning on escaping to Canada eventually?
I think Nacho is. I bet he has to talk his dad into it.
He is not even remotely in the mindset to just hang out and relax with these girls. He is thinking about his escape. The girls he has who are hanging out there, I'm pretty sure they were smoking meth or crack. They offered it to him like pretty casually, so you gotta wonder if he partakes at all. Any sign that Nacho is weak or doesn't really have his heart in this or care about protecting the Salamanca's assets, any sign like that will just make his situation worse. So I think what he's doing here is just playing the role really well. I don't think that this necessarily hardened him into being a more violent person necessarily. It's more that he, like we see, he's looking at the safe later. He's looking at those fake IDs he has for himself and his dad. He is focused on self-preservation. And the thing he can do best to preserve himself is to look like he really, really cares about the Salamanca's business. As bad as it looks and sounds, he picked a pretty benign thing to do to this guy.
It looks bad, draws a lot of blood, probably hurts pretty good, but it's not a grievous injury. The guy's going to be fine.
He's got to be very careful to make sure that the two ends he brought together don't slide against one another. They have to just be pushed against each other and stay that way, because they'll keep trying to heal, and then if he slides it, they'll detach again, and they'll kind of start healing on their own separate sides without ever fusing.
Soulcast Instant Take.
Badger is not a good name. Crazy 8 is not a good name. Captain Cook. Wannabe gangsters like Lil Windex cleaning up the rap game.
I like it. Is that a real thing?
It's a real rapper. So Crazy 8, he's all like, "What's up, homie? How you doing?" And the guy's like, "Shit, man, you know how it is. I can't get you all your money this week, but I get you next week. Peace." Ha. Come here. Let me tell you something. Rip. Sitting there playing with the fucking earring afterwards. He's just covered in blood.
Watchers on the couch.
He is the Salamanca's guy in Albuquerque. It's interesting because I always pictured that this lifestyle that he's adopted here is sort of what he probably would have wanted a long time ago.
Better Call Saul Insider Podcast.
How cool was it when Nacho ripped the fucking earring out of that guy's ear?
He like tapped into his Far Cry acting for a minute.
No.
I like to. He's talking to Crazy 8. And he's like, yeah, that's just what you gotta do. And then he's like, yeah, why didn't you do that?
It was so funny.
And he's kind of like, well, maybe because I'm working with Hank. I don't know.
Crazy 8 is such a poser.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny because if you go back to Breaking Bad, he's got the fucking...
You got the dog he's training.
I can't think of Nacho without thinking of his father.
He still because he still loves his little Nacho. He loves him, but he can't deal with the fact that he's in with the people that he's in with. Like, that killed him.
Watchers on the couch. Inside.
Clearly is moral. You know, probably one of the most moral people in the whole Breaking Bad universe is Juan Carlos Cantu's character. His upbringing is obviously different than what he does, and he's clearly ashamed, even at an older age. So it's still, fresh in his subconscious. So my question is, why does he feel the need to make money if his dad has a shop? Is it because his dad's shop is not successful? Is it because his dad owes money? Is it because... Fuck these guys. These guys are assholes. All these guys who hold power are real assholes, and they've never handled it well in relation to me. They always look down on people. They think they're morally superior. To teach Blingy a lesson. This is how it works.
Right.
Learn your lesson. You'll make money with me. You don't learn your lesson, you're going to get fucked. And you better be burned. It's better for you to be burned by me than by one of these guys.
If Crazy 8 doesn't keep these guys in line, he has to do this.
Exactly.
So by setting that up, he creates a pad and a little bit of protection.
Yeah.
Blingy's going to come and Blingy's going to go, but he knows that Domingo will be the guy that's going to basically
Is that a saying
keep
on the
line.
street?
There you go.
Blingy's going to come.
Blingy's
gonna go.
Everybody knows it. Everybody's talking about it.
I agree.
The act that follows, literally every scene in this act has music in it, has a song.
It's very subjective and open to interpretation. Facial expression, people's looks of ennui, very open to interpretation, and you can try to go with what you think the typical person would do.
They don't know where they're going, you know, like Jimmy doesn't know how to feel about Chuck's death. Kim doesn't know how to feel about Chuck's death and Jimmy's reaction to it, and her own career.
Mass groundswell of support, and we see the judge again, and you can just see how constantly flustered he is. He's like, I don't want a circus. This case doesn't warrant a circus.
Judge Munsinger is already at a 10 when he yanks open the door to his chambers and demands of Suzanne, standing there with Kim, "Are you prosecuting Santa Claus?" Suzanne has no idea what he's talking about and follows him inside as he yelps, "It looks like Miracle on 34th Street in here."
Epic old school recaps.
Immediately suspicious something is up, the prosecuting attorney decides to dig a little deeper. He's got his team of filmmakers. They've got a call center set up. They've got a crowdfunding campaign set up on his behalf. And basically every single phone number that was included on any of the letters, they've got an actor there doing impersonation as if he's a preacher in a small church in Louisiana. Kim shows up, and then she lays the world's sexiest kiss. Jimmy's looking for a new office, and he finds this rodent-infested place with like leaky holes, point of view of the hole with water dripping. And Kim spots his car and decides to swing by for a talk. She's sitting there, she's smoking cigarettes. She's just looking so hot and so confident, but you can tell she's really thinking about something.
James Hancock.
I have one question for you, Miss Erickson. Are you prosecuting Santa Claus?
Your Honor?
Because it looks like Miracle on 34th Street in here. Look at this. This is just today. Today's batch. Get your hands off our hero, they say. Mercy for Hugh Babineau, they say. What, like I'm sending him to the electric chair? Come tell me, Miss Wexler, did you start this particular ball rolling?
Did I instruct the people of Coushatta, Louisiana to start writing letters to the court? No, Your Honor, I did not.
I just ordered my boyfriend to do it.
Your Honor, this can't be a complete surprise to the assistant district attorney. She knows the defendant's history as well as I do.
Look, if I receive one more letter from some swamp-dwelling do-gooder, I'm going to scream.
Thank you for bringing the situation to our attention, Your Honor. May I see one of these?
Oh, take as many as you want. Yeah.
Take them all. Take them all.
I want to figure out why a pickpocket has people this overheated.
Maybe he saved 50 kids, pulling them out of a burning school bus or something like that.
I love Hugh. He's the dearest man.
Do you mind my asking, how exactly do you know Huel?
Oh, everyone in Coushatta knows Hugh. He's a pillar of our church.
And which church is that?
Free-Will Baptist.
Could you explain to me, is there some reason why Huel in particular holds so much esteem in your church?
Who are you again?
I'll tell you what I really think of you, but Jesus is listening, so I'll just say, shame on you!
The court has received numerous letters from members of your congregation in regards to Mr. Huel Babineau.
Oh, you're talking about Saint Hugh?
Surely.
He's a bona fide hero.
He's a hero?
Yes, ma'am. See, about a year ago, there was a fire in the rectory, and it was turned...
There was a fire, yeah.
I think you got the wrong end of the stick here. Hugh Babineau was
very important to us. Now, he would never...
He's pissed. And he's like, you two better work it out. We tried. Try again.
Yeah.
Because this should not be he says something like, this does not need to be a circus.
This case does not merit a circus.
Right, yeah. Then after that, the prosecutor starts going to all of her people.
This is great. I love this. Yeah.
And we can teach you how to do that.
I think whatever her name is, actually Blondie,
Makeup girl.
Yeah, makeup girl. Yes.
I think she does a better job improving actually than Jimmy does when he gets
I
on
do
the phone.
too. I do too.
Yeah, she's like flawless. He struggles just a little.
Yeah, and it seemed a lot more natural when it seemed more real.
Mm-hmm. I don't think he's taking any classes.
Yeah,
that's
I think that's a good point.
Yeah. He should go to Philly Improv. She did do one of my favorite things. One of my favorite wordplay in the world is flipping prosecute with persecute. I wish it happened more often because it's such an easy wordplay.
Yeah.
That I want it to happen on signs shoplifters will be persecuted. Every time I see a shoplifters will be prosecuted sign, I'm always like, let's just say persecute. That'd be pretty funny. And so they got one of those in there. That made me happy. Cool.
I missed it. All right. So, yeah, Jimmy is.
And when the prosecutor started dialing the number, Samantha shouted out loud, "He's gonna Mrs. Doubtfire."
Yeah, that's what I said. Is he gonna Mrs. Doubtfire?
Hey, let me know when this goes to trial. We've got a lot of buses that we're going to charter. We're going to come up and really just kind of come out and support.
Yeah. The prosecutor through this whole scene is just like she's like grimacing, but in the nicest way possible. Basically, where she really wants to be nice to this person. She's not trying to antagonize them, but she's hearing all the wrong things.
Yeah, it's not his fault that her case is falling apart. Or it just sounds like more trouble than it's worth.
Yeah. Gets off the phone. They wait. There is a period of
a lull.
A lull. And one of them is like, "Is it over?
Yeah.
Are we done?" Jimmy says he's headed out. Paige. Kim looks a little distracted, very distant.
Yeah,
but still there.
Mm-hmm. She does that thing too that happens in movies all the time, and I feel like I don't do this whenever I'm not listening to people. Where they do that thing where they overcompensate the minute they realize their mind is drifting with it happens a lot. I'm just like, no, don't do that. That's a giveaway. Just drift back into it, just very slowly.
Don't repeat the thing I just said.
And this was one of the first times she said no.
Yeah.
In her job. Usually it's, I'll figure that out.
Yeah.
And she just went, no, Paige is right. We're not going to do that.
Yeah, so I just have drawer thing in here.
Drawer thing.
That's what that is.
She looked at drawer thing.
It
seemed significant.
Yeah.
She was just checking to see if she was in the Inception or not.
Breaking Goodman.
And it's Reichert and Coakley. Kim meets with Paige Kevin and one of Kim's associates. Kevin's noting that one of the Mesa Verde's branches gets more foot traffic, and he thinks it's because of the eye-catching design, and wants to use a similar design for a new planned branch, but they had spent too much time with the current plan.
Just has an idea and says something and expects people to make it happen.
She welcomes a challenge for everything, but she's bored by this, so she's not open to a challenge for this at all.
And the other thing is that you hire an attorney to give you good advice, not to make the world move under your feet.
We agree that Kim could have done what Kevin wanted, and she chose not to. Yeah. And so my question is that the point of the scene? Or, and I just want to talk about this because I think there are probably some people interpreting that scene. We saw Kevin and Paige's relationship play out the way you're describing there, with her inner monologue and with everything that was playing out between the two of them. And Kim backs Paige, but Kevin is really he's like, Paige was right this time. And he's really kind of being a jerk to Paige. And I think that's the first we've ever seen between the two of them, that dynamic where Kevin is being a jerk to Paige. And I wonder if that is a secondary goal of this.
Post-show recaps.
Just the fact that at any point in time, one of those college kids could have screwed up, which I don't think they've ever screwed up on him once. I don't know why I'm so nervous about them, but they seem to come through every time.
One girl took improv classes.
I was just so glad they were in that episode. I was like, how are they going to get into the season? Because we got to have our dose of Janice the Muppet, and her two, and the guy whose hair gets messier every season.
Kim's outside knocking
Kim
the door,
outside,
smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, she looks like a cool teen. That's what I was thinking.
She's got her foot.
Tell me about it,
back.
stud.
Jimmy goes out, joins her, grabs the smoke, and we see old Jim and Kim. Jimmy's like, I know what you're thinking. This can't happen again, but let me assure you, it will not happen. So we're done. And she says,
Let's do it again.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Yeah.
And she took the turn.
Yeah. And I'm
Slipping
like,
Kimmy.
Yeah, Slipping Kimmy.
Yeah. I get behind that. Who lost the episode?
That prosecutor.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I maybe Werner, what's his name again?
Werner? Oh, yeah.
I feel like he's, once Gus suspects you of
you got a number on your head.
Once you're on his radar.
Yeah, I don't think that was good.
Breaking Goodman.
Secretly, she's enjoying this Jimmy nonsense. Maybe she becomes some kind of shady lawyer as well.
Over and out. No more. He misreads it too. Like he thinks, "Oh shit, we shouldn't have done this." And I know that you wouldn't. I know that you don't like doing this kind of stuff, Kim. So I'm really sorry. Kim reminds me of the woman in this scene. She reminds me of the woman in Psycho, who is a really nice, sweet, plain Jane. She's pretty, but she's kind of straight and narrow. Straight woman that turns crooked. She's supposed to take the money to the bank and deposit it, and spoiler alert, she doesn't. And she ends up being. Kim looks just like her. I think it's Vera Miles, maybe Vera Miles.
West Coast
It actually seems somewhat real because remember last episode it did seem real about how their relationship went.
Yes.
It's broken. Now people actually do fucking do this to where they just try to push so hard to make it work again. Like to forget all the bullshit, kind of like your feelings, anything that happened in the past. And number one
is doing some pretty shady shit to make money and not like basically going behind her back. So living a separate life. So that's weighing on her. So yes, of course she's distancing herself and it's upsetting to her, but she figured out a way to do it her own way and to get her client off, because that's really what happened. It's her client. It's the work she really does want to do and something she's passionate about. So that victory reignited the spark of the things that they used to do together. So that's going back to the better times and seeing, yes, this is why.
It'd be interesting if now she's doing it and he doesn't like it, and then eventually something happens where like she gets disbarred or whatever, or disbarred, and then she she becomes terrible and just can't be a lawyer anymore and just completely messed up, and then he's like a successful TV like criminal lawyer.
Yeah,
that'd be really weird and crazy, and like I feel like that's where it's heading, but I don't know at this point because I don't know.
Could you imagine if she like goes off the deep end
and then like. But it was just, it threw me off completely. Me too. I didn't expect that at all. Which is cool. I expected her, from the look on her face and him talking to her, expected to be like, no, I'm just done.
They would have ruined her firm if they were discovered, and says that we're done undertaking similar schemes. And to his surprise, Kim says that she wants to do it again.
Better talk Saul.
I mean, it's supposed to be a bad accent.
Like I watched this scene with my head in my hands the first time. I know it's supposed to be a bad accent, but like... then the DA is fucking stupid for falling for it. Like, it's a Foghorn Leghorn accent that's giving ludicrous details, and that's the thing that just case closed. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. So, it's one thing for him to be kind of shaky and cringy when you're supposed to understand that the audience is gullible or, desperate or whatever. But like when the opposition's supposed to be competent, like on the level of Kim kind of competent.
Yeah.
Like what if Kim not knowing, what if Kim was on the other end of that line?
Mm-hmm.
And, again, she recognized Jimmy and all, but like if it's someone giving that level of performance, would you think, oh yeah, that was a brilliant subterfuge that took in the great Kim Wexler? Would you be like, damn, Kim Wexler just got wharfed?
They're trying to inject a lot of comedy through the accent being intentionally bad, but they're also, trying to show that this is the thing that sealed the deal. And I think I agree with you.
Yeah.
That this ADA should have been more with it.
Better cast Saul Instant Talk.
Not a bad bit of rescuing, huh? Sometimes I amaze even myself.
That doesn't sound too hard. They let us go. It's the only explanation for the ease of our escape.
Easy? You call that easy?
They're tracking us.
Not this ship, sister.
At least the information in R2 is still intact.
What's so important? What's he carrying?
The technical readouts of that battle station. I only hope that when the data's analyzed, a weakness can be found. It's not over yet.
It is for me, sister. Look, I ain't in this for your revolution, and I'm not in it for you, Princess. I expect to be well paid. I'm in it for the money.
You needn't worry about your reward. If money is all that you love, then that's what you'll receive.
Star Wars: A New Hope, 1977.
Kim breaks way fucking bad. To use her power as a person overseeing all these financial transactions and bank expansions, and she's going to steal Ocean's 11 kind of money, and she's going to go like to Caracas or someplace with $50 million.
It's the Office Space plan.
No, not even that. She's
Fractions
just going to nakedly steal the money, because like Kevin's going to it's like, hey Kevin, I got a way to make this happen, but you got to transfer $10 million in this account tonight to make it happen. He does it, and she's gone, and she's out of Jimmy's life and everything.
I done wet more people than the pool and the beach, so be easy. Or I expose you like Shot TV. OG, that's why they put me in the movie. Don't screw me, cause if I punch you in your face, you probably try and sue me.
Better Cast Soul Instant Talk.
Part of this is a reaction to me seeing that this is such a fucking gonzo move from my perspective, that like, what is the gonzo move of this gonzo move, which is to have her be like secretly the Sith Lord, you know, that she's going to dethrone Jimmy. She's going to be he was the teacher. She'll be, because the thing is like, I think Kim is smarter, diligent, and harder working than Jimmy. So like, if she just decides to start lying all the time, I think she's instantly better than him. Like, I mean, she doesn't have the experience, I guess, like emotional control, all that kind of stuff. But for this particular scam, I don't think she would need it. It's a very technical scam.
Better Cast Soul.
Gus, there's all kinds of sharks in the water circling around, but Jimmy, it's been essentially man versus himself.
Better Cast Soul Instant Talk.
Kevin presses his point despite Paige's concerns, but no longer is Kim getting her adrenaline fix by doing anything in the financial sector, so she barely pauses before telling Kevin she's sorry, but that she agrees with Paige that starting over now would put them behind schedule. Back in her office, Kim reaches into the top drawer of her desk, produces the souvenir Zafiro Añejo bottle topper, and contemplates it. Is she so pragmatic? Or would she rather do more sexy crimes? Nothing, says Kim, surveying the landscape. Just driving around, thinking about things. Jimmy guesses at what that means and starts doing a version of what Mrs. Nguyen had recommended. I know what's on your mind. The thing we did. I mean, it was nuts, and I dumped it in your lap. Ex parte communication, contempt of court. We're talking about a couple of 100 counts of mail fraud. I could have wrecked you at Schweikart. I could have boned me, too. I mean, I'm this close to being reinstated. I mean, come on. Kim doesn't answer, nodding as she keeps her eyes on the horizon. Jimmy hands her back the cigarette. And also, I agree. We are totally done with all that. Over and out. No more. Kim blinks, exhales her latest drag, then fixes her eyes on Jimmy's to let him know he guessed wrong, telling him, let's do it again.
The kind that you can't tell is even mad at you.
Saul tells his fake kidnappers, who are Jesse and Walt, that Ignacio is to blame for whatever they're mad about. Like, it's not me, it was Ignacio. And then because he thinks they're working for Lalo. You must work for Lalo, and that's this guy, Eduardo.
Right.
So
right.
Whoever this guy is, he's some big hot player in the cartel that is soon to be feared, I'm
West
sure.
Coast Project.
He said, if you eat these, you will die.
Yeah.
And that's just all the subtitle says is you will die.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and I'm not just like, no, thank you. Yeah. It's very interesting. Like, the only thing we know about this guy is that Saul gets kidnapped, brought out to the desert, and this is the first guy that comes to mind.
Yeah.
That would do it.
Whatever plans he has are somewhat troubled by this arrival.
Really?
I think you feel it. I think as Nacho, I think the way that played, the moment I opened the door, you know, I have to give a shout out to Max Arcienega, who plays Domingo. Max. And the moment I see his face, it just feels to me that something is horribly wrong. And, you know, they're both sitting there quietly, and Nacho immediately goes for his gun to tell you the state of mind that he's in at that moment. And then there's this gentleman who does the most disrespectful thing that someone can do, is go to someone else's territory and cook in his kitchen. You know, there's get the fuck out of my kitchen kind of say.
Right.
You know, and he goes in, he cranks the music up, he's dancing and he's cooking in the kitchen, but everything he says is so nice. But everything he does is so disrespectful in such a kind of upper-handed sort of move. He doesn't call. He doesn't say, hey, I'm coming. He doesn't say, let me introduce myself, or there's a problem. What's going on? Tell us what. He just shows up and completely takes over the kitchen, gets the two guys hostages almost, and is completely comfortable in the environment. I think Nacho immediately recognizes.
But he cooks you a delicious burrito.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that. You know, it could have had anything in it, and it's the act. It's like, you know, when someone is so nice to you, but their gesture is the opposite. It's just him showing up without calling or introducing himself and cooking and blasting the music is the opposite of respect. But everything he says is respectful. And I think Nacho's immediately says to himself, this guy's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
This guy's absolutely nuts. I can't place him, and I know he's dangerous.